Hey guys, by Oscar Ramos, and tonight, whatever you want to call it, Miami Dolphins defeated the New Orleans Saints 20-3 on Monday Night Football. I'm sorry, DJ, it just had to happen, and it was unfortunate for the Saints because they have 22 players who are out with COVID, and then on top of that, just throughout the entire season, they've been dealing with so many injuries. So, just it's been spiraling out of control for the Saints, and this week was unlike any other week where they had so many players out and not even with injury, just COVID related issues. Now, with that being said, that's the modern day that the NFL and all of these sports leagues have to go through. So, even though it's unfortunate, it's something that can happen, and it did happen. With that being said, Dolphins had a tremendous win, and this is one of those type of games that if the Dolphins had struggles winning this game, then it would have brought some concern. But I'm not saying they handled them easily, but there was definitely a good moment there where the Dolphins pretty much didn't have to worry too much about winning this game. Now, with that being said, like I mentioned in the game preview, a win here puts the Dolphins at the 7th seed, and it indeed does. 8-7 puts the Dolphins there, especially after starting 1-7. I mean, who would have pictured the Dolphins going on a 7-game winning streak and being in this position? No one but this guy. I don't want to be too braggy, but it is what it is. So, the technicalities that put the Dolphins in the 7th seed right now is that they won the tiebreaker against the Los Angeles Chargers based on best win percentage in common games, and then wins the tiebreaker over the Baltimore Ravens based on best win percentage in conference games. And then division tiebreak was initially used to eliminate Las Vegas. And then in parentheses, Los Angeles wins tiebreaker over Las Vegas based on head-to-head win percentage. I know another factor is that the Dolphins have that head-to-head win against the Ravens, which also puts them ahead of them. Now, let's look at the stats for today's game, which really highlighted on really big-time defense. I'll go over that in a second. Let's go over some team stats. First downs, Dolphins had 16, Saints had 10. Let's see what else. Fourth down efficiency, Saints went 1 of 3 on fourth down, 0 for 12 on third down, which was huge. The Dolphins were able to get off the field almost every time. Dolphins 5 for 15 on third down, which not great, but when you're able to convert them, you can string them along and have an efficient drive. Now, total plays, Dolphins 59, Saints 51. Total yards, 259 for the Dolphins, 164 for the Saints. Not good for them. Let's see, penalties, 7 of 65, 7 of 62 for the Saints, 7 of 65 for the Dolphins. So kind of even there. Dolphins had 1 turnover, Saints had 2, and Dolphins owned the time of possession, 33 minutes, 56 seconds. Saints, 26 minutes and 4 seconds. So, let's get into some stats. Love to see it. Tua Tagovailoa had 19 completions of 26 attempts, 198 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 2 sacks for a loss of 25 yards. One of those really put the Dolphins in a bad position heading into the half, but then that day did not hurt them drastically. Jacoby Brissett got in for a play on fourth down. He had Matt Collins open. Doesn't matter. He was sacked for a loss of no yards. Ian Book, 12 of 20, 135 yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions, sacked 8 times for a loss of 54 yards. So it really brings down his total to 81 passing yards. But not a good showing for the rookie. And it's all really to the defensive pass rush and defensive scheme that really put him in a bad spot. Duke Johnson had 13 carries of 39 yards. Philip Lindsay, 13 carries of 36 yards. Myles Gaskin, 3 carries, 10 yards to a 1-for-1. Alvin Kamara had 13 carries of 52 yards. Mark Ingram, 4 carries for 17 yards. Pretty much the rest are not really worth mentioning. For the Miami Dolphins, Jalen Waddle, 10 receptions, 92 yards. 1 touchdown, longest was 24 off of 12 targets. So that's a pretty good conversion rate. Matt Collins, 1 reception, 40 yards off of 2 targets. Darren Smythe, 3 receptions, 31 yards. Mike Gesicki, 3 receptions, 22 yards. Tommy Lee Lewis, 1 reception, 7 yards. And Myles Gaskin, 1 reception, 6 yards. Saints. Lil Jordan Humphrey had 3 receptions, 70 yards. Longest was 56. That was pretty much at the end of the game. Marquez Callaway had 4 receptions, 46 yards on 4 targets. That was pretty good of him. Ethan Wolf had 2 receptions for 8 yards. Alvin Kamara, 2 for 7. Kenny Stills, 1 for 4. Fumbles. Tua fumbled once, and Liam Eichenberg recovered it, which was a miracle because that ball popped out and started going back towards scoring position for the Saints. Defensive stats for the Miami Dolphins. Christian Wilkins, 8 total tackles, 1 solo, half a sack, 3 QB hits. Landon Roberts, 7 total, 3 solo. Jerome Baker, 6 total, 5 solo, 1.5 sacks, 2 tackle for a loss, 3 QB hits. Zach Sealer, 1 sack, 1 tackle for a loss, and 2 QB hits. Brandon Jones, 1 sack, 1 tackle for a loss, 1 pass deflection, 1 QB hit. Javon Holland, half a sack and a QB hit. Manuel Agba, 2 sacks, 1 tackle for a loss, 3 QB hits. Xavier Howard, 1 sack. Xavier Howard got a sack. Oh my God. Andrew Van Ginkel, 1 tackle for a loss, 2 pass deflections. Raekwon Davis, half a sack, QB hit. Nick Needham, 1 pass deflection, and pick 6 touchdown. Let's see what else. That's pretty much it there for the stats. For the Saints, Pete Warner, 10 total tackles, 7 solo. Zach Bond, 8 total, 6 solo. CJ Gardner-Johnson, he was playing pretty good. 7 totals, 5 solo, 1 tackle for a loss. Zach Braun also had a QB hit. Let's see who else. Cameron Jordan, 2 sacks, 1 tackle for a loss, and 2 QB hits. Marcus Davenport, 1 sack, 1 tackle for a loss, 1 QB hit. Braxton Hoyt, tackle for a loss. Same thing with PJ Williams. Marshawn Lattimore had a pass deflection. Bradley Roby had a pass deflection as well. And that's pretty much it for the notable stats. Interceptions. Nick Needham, 1 interception, returned for 28 yards and a touchdown for Miami. Second play of the game, so really started off hot for the Miami Dolphins on defense. Brandon Jones had an interception as well. He returned it for 8 yards. Marshawn Lattimore had an interception, but didn't pretty much caught it and went down. It was pretty much a deep heave. It was pretty much a punt, if you think about it. It was a 3rd down throw. Just not the best play for Tua, but it is what it is. Kick returns. Tommy Lee Lewis had a punt return for 23 yards. Ty Montgomery had a return for 26 yards. Punt returns. Javon Holland had 1 return for 10 yards. Tommy Lee Lewis had 2 for -1. Aesop Winston Jr. had 3 returns for 27 yards. Jason Sanders, 2 for 3 on field goals. Longest was 48 that he made. He attempted a 56-yarder, which was no good. And then 2 for 2 on extra points. Brett Maher went 1 for 1 on field goals, and longest was 38 yards. Michael Parley had 6 punts for a total of 255 yards. 3 were in the 20, and longest was 47 yards. Blake Galikin had 7 total punts, 316 yards. 2 were in the 20, longest was 54 yards. Now, Dolphins improved to 8-7, just a game behind the New England Patriots, who are 9-6. Same thing with Buffalo, but Buffalo does own the tiebreaker against the Miami Dolphins. Saints now dropped to 3rd in the division. It's Tampa who won the division. Then you have Atlanta and New Orleans both at 7-8. Atlanta has a tiebreaker over Saints. So, what a game for the Miami Dolphins to win on primetime. Yes, I know I understand that there was so many things with COVID, but a win's a win. You got to take these when you can and move forward to a really tough opponent in the Tennessee Titans, who the Miami Dolphins are very familiar with their quarterback, at least Xavier Howard is. I'm trying to think of who else might have been on the roster. Devontae Parker, and that pretty much really narrows it down to who's really familiar with Devontae Parker, with Ryan Tannehill on the Dolphins now. A lot of turnover happening there. But it's a tough game heading into week 17 of the season. And, it's a formidable opponent, 10-win team. But the Dolphins are not far off. I think there's a good chance the Dolphins can't compete in this game, but it is what it is. So let's talk about what I said that what the Dolphins need to do in order to win this game. First and foremost was put pressure on the quarterback. They did that. Simple. Second was be kind of consistent, and they were. Just throw the ball pretty much Jalen Waddle and move the offense around Jalen Waddle and see what happens. They were pretty consistent with that. And then last but not least was limit mistakes. I feel like that one interception was a mistake, but it wasn't like he threw it a short route and he was intercepted in the flat. It was more so, kind of heave it down the field, essentially like a punt. I feel like there was a few too many penalties for the Dolphins, but I think the game was called fair, so that's good. Aside from that, I think the Dolphins executed pretty well, and that was pretty much what they needed to do. I mean, when you hold someone to not scoring a touchdown, I understand that a rookie quarterback, a lot of their team was out, but win's a win, and it does help the Dolphins' odds to make the playoffs. Like I said in the last video, if there was a game to lose, it was this one, and luckily the Dolphins didn't lose this. But now it puts a lot more pressure on the Dolphins to win these next two games. You win these next two games, you're 100% in the playoffs. But if you lose the Patriots game, I think losing the Titans game might hurt, but I think losing the Patriots game will hurt them a lot more. But, things are in the Dolphins' favor. They are currently in the playoffs if the season were to end today. But the Patriots have a game against the Jaguars. Not favorable for the Dolphins. But you can only control what they can control. And if they continue to win out, then the Dolphins will have a guaranteed playoff spot. So that pretty much wraps it up for this Week 16 game recap against the New Orleans Saints. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And you'll see the next video will be Week 17 game picks. I'm going to try to have the guys on virtually. But if not, you'll just see this pretty mug pretty much for the next 3 weeks, which will be very fun for you guys, I guess, right? But anyways, thank you guys for watching, and, just keep on winning. That's all the Dolphins got to do. See you guys in the next video.